This is Learning Target K Retake Ticket. We're finding area of irregular figures. At the top of your paper, you will see all of the formulas that you will need for finding area today. I'll highlight a couple that are important. Down here, we obviously want the area formulas for circle. We'll kind of ignore the circumference formula for right now. You can cross that off. Parallelogram and rectangle you'll find are similar. Remember that we need the height of that. Trapezoid is 1/2 times the sum of the bases times the height. And you can multiply those in either order. Kite and rhombus have the same formula. It's diagonals multiplied together. The big idea here is that we are going to try to break these shapes up into things we can find the area of. The other method that we have is that we can find the area of the whole and we can subtract what we don't want. And that's what I'm going to start with on this first example. If we were to extend this line all the way around and imagine that we have a rectangle here, we could find the area of that by multiplying 7 times 5, which is going to give us an area of 35. But of course, we don't want this area here. Okay, we need to subtract this area off. So I need to find the length of that piece. Well, I know that this whole dimension here is 5. So therefore, if this part down here is 1, then my remaining dimension here must be 4. And I can use that same process to find the length on this other side. If this whole thing is 7, this little part right here is 4. That must mean that this remaining part is 3. And so in order to find the area of the rectangle, the purple and blue rectangle here, rectangle that we want to subtract off, we multiply 3 times 4. And we get 12. To find the total area now, I'll take 35 and subtract 12. And I will end up with 23 square centimeters. Now that is not the only way that you can solve this one. You could, of course, go and use the existing triangles. So we could break this up and not use the subtraction method, but rather break this up there, find the area of the blue rectangle, and then finding the area of the pink rectangle, we would add those together. So it all just depends on how you see it. Here you would multiply 4 times 5 for the area of the blue. Which is 20. This one down here is a 1, and then since again this whole length along the bottom is 7 and this part is 4, that must be 3. 1 times 3 would give us just a 3, and then of course you add those together and you get 23 square centimeters. So that's the general idea that we're going to take into today. We're going to apply only one of them, and we'll just work through the rest of the examples. Moving over to number 2. We've got kind of a trapezoid here. I see it as perhaps easier to distinguish is a rectangle, okay, though it does kind of look like a square. That one dimension is actually much less. This one side is 10, that one side is 20. And then I also see a rectangle or a triangle splits up there. So I'll first find the area of the triangle, and then I will find the area of that rectangle, and then I will add them together. So I like to just write those down. I know that I'm going to add them together. Starting with the triangle, that formula looks like this. Area equals 1/2 the base. We can call that base 20. and the height just this side over here is 5. So that area, half of 20 is 10, 10 times 5 is 50. All right, so we've got the area of the triangle. The area of the rectangle should be even more straightforward. You've got one side length of 10 over here. You've got another side length of 20. 10 times 20. The area of that rectangle is 200. Now adding these two things together, 50 and 200, your total area, 250. We do not have units on here, so I would just put square units. Square units. All right, continuing on, we've got a couple of new shapes here, or one new shape. First thing that we need to do is split this shape into something that we can find the area of. I've got a couple of dimensions. I know that the distance from the center of this circle out to the edge is 30. And I'll transfer that length in there. The whole thing, now we drew in this dotted line, the whole thing across is 120. This whole length all the way across is 120. So in order to split this up into the rectangle that I will trace in green here, and then the half circle there, I will need to take 120, I will need to subtract that 30. 120 minus 30, that will leave me with 90 feet for the dimensions of this rectangle. And then, of course, we can multiply for the area of that rectangle, the 60 over on the side, 90 across the top, and for the half circle, I know I will have half of the entire circle. Now, the entire length from up here, down to here is 60. Half of that is 30, but of course we knew the radius right away from that length there, so we can put in a 30 square. The 1/2 in front takes care of the fact that I've got half a circle. So I'm going to add the 60 times 90 to the 1/2 pi 30 squared for a total area of 6,813.7 square feet. The last shape is a little bit trickier because we have 3 different shapes that I'm going to use here. I'm going to identify the top triangle, this middle rectangle, and then the bottom trapezoid. So I've got 3 shapes that I need to find the area of. I'll kind of work straight down the paper here. The triangle, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. The area of a rectangle is just base times height. The area of a trapezoid is 1/2 height, and then base 1, base 2, plus base 2. And I like to write the height first, but it doesn't matter which one you write first. All right, so let's start at the top. The triangle has the same base as the rectangle. So I see a 3 down on the bottom here. That means I've got a 3 as my base right there. So for the area of my triangle, it's going to equal 1/2. Base is 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Half of 12 is 6. My rectangle, that base again is 3. My height is up 10. So 3 times 10, that will give us 30 right there. The trapezoid will be the hardest one to figure out, but most of the information is present for us here. We've got the 3 and the 5 as my bases. My height, the distance between those bases, is 2. So I'll put 1/2, the height of 2, and then multiply the bases, multiply them by the bases added together, 3 plus 5. 1/2 of 2 is just 1, so it's 3 plus 5. The area of that trapezoid is 8. Now I need to just go through and add all of these together. I've got 6, 30, and 8, making my total area 44 units, square units. 44 square units. 30 plus 8 plus 6 makes 44. Please continue the rest of these questions down below and check in on Schoology or find an answer key with your teacher to check and see that you've done the work correctly. Thank you.